Hey, what's up? Welcome to MFT Psychology. I'm Maureen, and in this video, we're going to talk about Gestalt therapy. It was created by Fritz Perls and his wife Lara Perls, but we don't usually give much attention to the wives in a lot of these models. For the sake of testing, it would be Fritz Perls. That is important to remember. They were German, and so the word Gestalt is German. And it means organization and patterns. That's what the word means. It kind of represents how the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And, by figuring out what the patterns are inside of us and outside of us and making organization out of that, we come closer to getting to that whole. Of all the complex whole of all of these different parts. A quote of Fritz Perls is that, quote, "Our consciousness forms units into wholes," end quote. And so that's like our tendency to already be looking for organization and patterns. And so part of the goals of this model of therapy is to support finding what that whole looks like for individuals. So some of the major concepts of Gestalt therapy is, first off, it's humanistic. Humanistic therapy is all about recognizing the unique individuality of each of us and accepting us exactly how we are in the here and now. Here and now, right here. Fritz Perls and his wife were heavily influenced by Eastern philosophy, Taoism and Zen, and so it was a lot of mindfulness about what's going on inside of here and now. It's also existential, and this is another philosophy based out of Europe. I think primarily Friedrich Nietzsche. And probably others, but he was a big existential philosopher. Fritz Perls is applying that to therapy through Gestalt therapy. And existentialism is pretty complex to me anyway. I might suggest to look it up yourself to make sense of it, but the way I understand it is that, well, first off, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And so it's our responsibility. Responsibility is huge as far as I see Gestalt therapy, individuals taking responsibility for understanding all of these different parts and how they exist to form a whole. And so with that, if there's so many different complex parts, then knowing and recognizing that our truth is highly subjective. Each one of us has a highly subjective truth. There is no objective truth because we all see things in a different way as part of this whole. We can never fully grasp the whole. We're always kind of only going to be at any given moment, being able to grasp certain parts of it. Personally, the way I see being able to grasp the organization and patterns of the whole as sort of godlike moments, because it's really significant to be able to bring yourself out of the minute details of ourselves, of society, and be able to make sense of the whole. Another major concept of Gestalt therapy is that it's holistic. It's heavily focused on bringing awareness to the mind, body, and feelings, and perception and sensation, really fully being able to exist in the moment. And said himself, quote, "Awareness in itself is healing," end quote. And so with that, just being present inside of the moment with our clients so that they can bring awareness to where they're at in this moment, how their body is functioning, how their thoughts and their feelings are impacting their body, is super healing. And then the last major concept that I'm going to talk about is experiential therapy. Again, the way I see it is that Gestalt therapy is sort of the big influence on experiential techniques inside of the field of therapy. And experiential techniques just mean like any kind of activity, any kind of creative activity that brings awareness to what's going on for a person. And so role playing and art and dancing and these kinds of things really help make sense of the whole in practical ways. And so, you know, the like empty chair dialogue where you kind of speak to an empty chair about what's going on, or I've seen people use like a stuffed animal and talking to them as representative of a child self, or dancing, interpretive dancing. All of these are experiential models. Drawing, it can be really basic as just coloring and drawing. All of these are experiential techniques. And so some of the ways that these concepts are applied is that, again, like it is here and now. And so in Gestalt therapy, the relationship between the therapist and client is highly stressed because it is the role of the therapist to create a safe space for the client to be able to discover all of these different parts that make up the whole. And so change happens in the present moment through dialogue. And so it's extremely important for the therapist and client to have a good rapport, right? Which is like one of the basic ways that we know that the best change happens through therapy. Another aspect of, again, the change happens here and now is that if it's happening here and now, we don't really need to visit the past. And if the past does come up, it's sort of like, okay, well, why is that coming up right now for you, right? So if a client is like, 5 years ago, I had this friend and they stopped talking to me, it's like, all right, like, that's valid, right? We don't want to be like, that's not important, it happened in the past. But what is important is, why is that coming up in this moment? Why is that coming up today? What's going on inside of your body? What are you thinking that's making all of this come up? And really bringing awareness to, again, the here and now. And then this also goes back to that responsibility piece. It's our responsibility to not carry the past with us, right? Like the past influences us. When we think about the past, a past situation, good or bad, doesn't matter, we get all of these hormones, literal hormones and emotions that run through us. And so now it's like we're in the moment, but it's the past that is taking over our body. And so Gestalt therapy is really big into like discovering like, okay, that came up, like what's happening inside of your body right now. And that comes back to the like mind, body, feelings thing. Because like once we discover this, well, then it's like we can't deny that it's still following us. And so now it becomes, again, our responsibility to deal with it, to recognize it, to bring awareness to it so that it can change, so that we can become more in control of like who we are in the here and now. And so that's what I got about Gestalt therapy. I would love to hear your thoughts about it, your experiences with it. I love the idea of creating a collective narrative about our thoughts and experiences with all of these models. And so please comment below what you think about what I said. If you want to elaborate on anything, or if you kind of disagree, like all of it's cool. I love feedback, and I love for everybody to be able to learn from each other too. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Check out all my other videos, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.